Listen to Dungeons with Dudes, a podcast with dudes, Dungeons, Dragons, and Flagons. Every other Sunday on the Journey into Comics Network.
The following
Journey into Comics.
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 Network.
production.
I'm a dude who likes brews. It's time for Brews with Dudes. Juicy. And we're back for another episode of Brews with Dudes. I'm your host, Nick Maxon, sitting down here at the North End Pub with Mr. Casey Taylor.
What up, guys? How we doing tonight?
Doing real good.
Awesome.
Just getting started. We're sitting down here with our good buddy Shaun.
Hell yeah.
Mr. Craftroads.
Mr. Craftroads, Bev, man.
We got a fun one. We kind of hinted at this last time, and we've been talking about it quite a bit. We're doing the Pioneer Night finally.
Yes.
Getting in on it.
for this. Yeah, we've been talking about it. How many times have you been on, Shaun?
This is my second time.
Okay.
Yeah, it was back in April. We
I
launched
can't remember
Toppling.
if you've been on 2 or 3 times yet.
Yeah, that'll be
I
the
know we've
second.
referenced you. We've talked about you.
Nice. I know.
Because he's got the good stuff.
Yeah.
He's got the stuff that we like. So why don't we dive in? We'll start drinking this first one, and then we can, or should we give a quick brief?
We can do a quick overview of what we're doing here tonight.
Cool.
As far
Lay
as
it
the
on us.
program that we run. So I work for a company called Craftroads Beverage. We're based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, downtown. We are not a big brand collector. We're very meticulous when we choose our brands. Whether it's throughout the state, throughout the country. We only have one out of country brewery, which would be Glutenberg in Montreal, Canada, and that's actually a gluten-free product that we do. And we're actually kind of dominating the gluten-free market with that brand too. So it's just good craft beer. For 2 million celiacs that are in Indiana right now, they want to drink some beer.
Yeah.
So, but what we like to do is, with a lot of our local breweries that we carry, we don't necessarily will carry their whole portfolio, but if they want to send us maybe 1 or 2 beers for us to sell, what we do is and they want to be a part of the Pioneer Series is what this is called. So what we do is we'll send their beer to Purdue's Food and Science Lab, and it gets tested for all the qualities that make a good beer a good beer. There's 5 points that they'll check for. They'll check for nitrogenol, the nitrogen in the beer, the CO2, any oxidation, and then there's the mixture, which is amalgamation, I think is what it's called. I'm having a hard time pronouncing that today. I went online today so many times trying to figure out how to pronounce
Exactly
that
how
one.
to say it.
Exactly. And diacetyl. So it's just, all those qualities, just you don't want to make sure that there's no impurities in your beer is what it is. So we send that beer to Purdue's Food and Science Lab, comes back clean, then we'll talk about selling your beer. And it's just draft only is what we do. We don't do any canned formats of those. We make it a little bit simple, easier. We would like to sell the draft at a good price. The keg price is usually anywhere between, $150 to $195 for half barrels and $75 to $99 on sixtels. So what we have tonight, what we'll be drinking, we had a couple from the Tap Brewery out of Bloomington. We're going to be drinking their social lager tonight. It is honestly probably one of my favorite lagers that we carry. Now that I've hit 40 years old, I like to drink good Kolsch's, Pilsners, lagers. I'm a little IPA'd out these days.
we had that talk where it's funny you start going full circle and trying all this stuff, and then sometimes you come back to just the classics.
You know what? I think that's what people are doing these days. They're going back to what beer was. Whether, just good ambers, good lagers, Pilsners, Kolsch's, a good porter, Belgian golden ales, Hefeweizens, So I think a lot of people are starting to brew beers these days that are really trying to appeal to the non-beer drinker. And, so I really enjoy just a good classic, just lager, Pilsner, especially, this state, this time of year when it's hot out, dude.
Right. You want something light.
Exactly, dude. Mow the yard 11 o'clock, noon, sit underneath a tree, have a good lager, and revel in your glory of your,
It's
your beautiful looking lawn.
We do weird. Like, we kind of pride ourselves on trying to find certain, like, weird beers, certain kinds of beers, and introduce people. And this is probably like our calmest episode.
Right.
Which we talked about, or I said something to you earlier about. It would make sense that a lot of these being the purity thing, like bee lagers and bee ales, because with different ingredients, all the things that would go into making like a New England IPA or IPA is probably going to
more room for error.
Yeah,
more room for error.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, man, the lager, in my opinion, is one of the hardest, probably styles of beer to brew. It's you've got to brew this beer at a colder temperature. Those yeast, the yeast is a living organism. And so if you have your temperature at 75 to 80 degrees in your fermenter, that yeast is moving around doing all kinds of things, 50, 55 degrees for lagers, pilsners, kolsches. Everybody's a little sluggish. Everything is a little sluggish, at that temperature. So it takes a little bit longer for the fermentation process to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to sip on this social lager right here from the tap. The tap is out of Bloomington. Head brewer Jared May. He's doing some really cool stuff down there. This beer, he said he took probably about 30 batches to perfect this one right here. And he's won a few medals, World Beer Cup, Indiana Cup. And, it's a 4%. Just
easy.
Very, very easy drinking lager.
Oh, yeah. You could smash these.
Yeah.
I love it. It's very
crushable.
It's a classic American lager. It's got a light body and pale gold color. And, it's very crisp. It's,
That's the word
very
I
little
thought,
hop.
crisp.
And that's the thing. I have two words to describe this beer: clean and crisp. And, it's a little bit of a sweeter finish to it, too, that I notice.
I'm going to have to get more of that. That's real. That's super
Especially
easy
the
to
frosted
drink.
glass. That's what we were saying. You
Oh,
get a nice
yeah.
frosted glass of that, dude, and you can just smash that.
I would love for them to put this in package format and sell it on the shelves, man. I could crush this all day long, But you can go to the brewery in Bloomington. They also have a restaurant, pub facility on Mass Ave in Indy. You can get your growlers there. They sell 32-ounce, can growlers. One thing that I'm starting to see that's kind of cool, and I was just at a brewery earlier today, is like everybody's kind of got their own little canning thing. When you fill up a 32-ounce can, they've got this little machine that'll just
do it right then and there.
Do it right there, man.
I just
they'll twist on the
that.
cap. Yeah.
I think Brokerage has that now.
I was at Brokerage Brewing Company. That's exactly where it was.
Yeah.
Man, up here. Yeah.
We were just at Listerman's this past weekend, and they do it too.
Talk about some good lagers and pilsners, man. Corey up there at Brokerage was brewing some really cool things, man.
I love Corey.
He won a gold in the Indiana Cup for his cream ale this past year.
Yeah.
And,
he specifically says whenever I talk to him that he likes doing the more classic styles, but we're in a market that wants those IPAs, and he makes a killer IPA.
He does make some good
but
IPAs.
he says he says he feels like he's sneaking it in, like sneaking in the shit that he wants to make. He used to be at Evil Czech.
He was an Evil Czech brewer for some time too. Yes.
I still haven't been up there, but that spot looks cool. Corey's a great guy. He's a metalhead.
He is a big metal.
So we get along.
He's always listening to Ghost.
Yeah, he's a big Ghost fan. He's a huge Ghost fan.
But very nice. I mean, both everybody up there. Brian Russell is the owner of Brokerage. He does a phenomenal job up there, and they're brewing some really, really good brews. So
we've been up there podcasting. We went up there and did an episode for their Oktoberfest.
Yeah,
of course, sat down with us. That was a lot of fun. Great folks. So I think we're nice and ready for the second one. What do we got here?
Yeah, second one, we're going to do the tap again. We've got two from the tap. So we just had the social lager. This next one is a really cool one. This one's called Nefarious Nectar. It is a Belgian golden ale. People get a little, they get a little scared when they see that 9.2 ABV mark.
Oh, that's
there.
This one.
Yeah, that is. It's
okay.
It's a big boy.
All right.
You gotta be ready for it, because I was not. Like I drank one earlier and just kind of sampled a little bit, and it was one of those where I was like, I would have put it a little bit above the social, but not more than double.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see what we got here.
No, but it tastes like a 3%er. That's the thing.
Uh-oh. That's not cool, guys. That is not cool.
I like the pepper. I like seeing that. Like, I always tell you, one of my favorite beers that I've ever had that you brewed was when you did that ghost pepper one.
Oh, yeah.
That was
our
just,
ghost pepper cinnamon
yeah.
stout.
Oh, my gosh.
It was monstrous.
It
was a little hard to drink at first because the pepper was very strong. But we still have a couple bottles, but we had them at about a year and a half, and it mellowed out nice, and the cinnamon was more prominent.
Wow.
But those first, after a month or two, right at the beginning of it when we drank it, you were just like, what the fuck? You felt like you were taking a shot of just fucking pepper.
See, I liked it though. I liked it.
It was nice. It was nice. We got to get back on it. We got a couple things. We got to.
So that's the thing about like beers like that. You know, if you let it age a little bit, that pepper flavor will really mellow out a little bit more. But no, yeah, the Nefarious Nectar, very solid. It's very medium bodied. It's got a lot of complex flavors going on in it. With it being a Belgian Golden Ale, you do taste that coriander flavor in there. It's very floral. I got a little bit of pepper. They definitely get some spices in this.
The fruit's the finish. That's I'm done, at the very end. I get the fruit. It reminds me of a beer, and I just can't put a finger on it.
Have you ever had like Avery White Rascal?
No. I'm sitting there. It's something I like, and I just can't. It tastes just like, and it's driving me nuts. It's a beer I like, but I do like the taste of this. Like I said, I always have respect for beers that kind of take you on that little flavor roller coaster where you get all those little things, and at the end are like, wow,
that was a ride.
Yeah, I brought the Neapolitan, the Saga type guys. That game,
it tastes like whatever you're thinking about. Like this time, I'm going to taste
that Neapolitan. I think I've had that before. Is that more on the stout side?
Yeah,
is that what it is? Okay,
yeah.
I think we had that on tap once years ago.
I definitely tasted the chocolate. I wonder if I can get the strawberry this time. Like, that doesn't taste like strawberry. Or I wonder, and it's a mind fuck.
I don't know.
Saga Talk is
that maple,
top tier.
Yeah.
Every beer they did a blueberry
maple stout
that was just
big old lumberjack
fucking killer.
Pancakes on, and it was literally.
We have a brewery called Rochester Mills, which is out of the Detroit area.
Oh yeah,
never used
I've been saving that sample.
There we go, and we're gonna do another podcast, and it's gonna be Rochester Mills, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna taste the 12 stouts of Christmas. Is what we're gonna do.
Oh yeah,
right?
That would be a record. Our record right now is 10 beers in one episode.
Oh my gosh! Well, records are made to be broken.
Yes, yes they are.
Didn't 6th Street try that and then not finish it?
Yeah, I don't know the whole story behind it, but they were trying to, and then after they released 3 or 4 of them, I think what they were trying to do was like they tap one. When it ran out, start the next, and they got like 3 or 4 deep, and then they stopped doing it.
You're gonna have to just do 3 at a time. I'm down. I'll do it. We can do that.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I'm gonna have to get a hotel here.
Yeah,
I'll do 3 taps. We'll run 3 taps. That means you gotta eat
my
each
wife
one
coming.
Oh my goodness!
Take me home, but,
so we can definitely get it in.
No, the 12 Stouts of Christmas holiday pack. It comes out every year. Last year was the first thing we launched with Rochester Mills. They do 12 different stouts, 16-ounce format. It comes in a really cool holiday looking pack. It looks like a present.
So you can get it in cans.
It comes in cans. Is what.
See, that's
come.
all day. That's even easier.
And that's what I would rather do.
Just late to the party this time.
Okay.
Well, they do.
So this Christmas,
they
no
do
way.
send draft. They do send draft. And they like to pick one account throughout the state of Indiana, and they'll actually tap 12 stouts of Christmas, one every single day, 12 days leading up to Christmas is what they like to do.
So I think they try to do that.
So we actually, funny thing, we're drinking the tap. That's where the event was held at last year. It was at the tap on Mass Ave.
See, we can do cans. I'm a can drinker.
Cans are the way to
anyways.
go.
Yeah.
And, it's really cool. I'll get some up here in Lafayette when they're available. They'll retail anywhere between $28.99 to $31.99. Right? Dude,
That's
we killed
super
it.
friendly. Yeah.
You get one of each. You got flavors like toasted marshmallow, blueberry pancake. You get Ninja Turtle, chocolate cheesecake, a blonde. I'm in on that. Every year they do something. We have no idea what the flavors are going to be this year.
That's cool.
So
because that comes towards the end of the random band challenge too.
Yes, it does.
That's right up against it. So that's always we normally
random
have a
band challenge. That's gonna be so
December.
Much fun.
Like that's always a good month for us. But yeah, last year we did the random band challenge where people just basically were like, guitarist, every instrument, and it was just basically each grouping. You just pick the name.
You throw your name in the hat, say like, "This is my name, and this is the instrument I play," and then you would separate, the guitarist and the drummer, and you would pick a band.
Okay.
So you would play with random people and form a random band.
And one of them was Slayer, Slay, Santa
So
sleigh.
it was like a thrash band that was all about Christmas songs, and they dressed up all holiday-like.
SLEI.
It went great. It was a blast.
Slayer.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Them boys. Austin Hill.
Them boys. Yep. Yeah, it was wild.
That's good stuff. So yeah, that's Nefarious Nectar from the tap. I mean,
that was great.
Both of those beers are very, very solid. Those are the two that we sell from them. There's always opportunity for more beers to be sent our way from them. And but no, they're Jared May down there is brewing some really good stuff, and I highly recommend. If you're ever in Bloomington, check them out. Very cool facility, very cool pub. They got a nice stage that's behind their bar, kind of looking down on the crowd, dude. I love the setup of that place.
I want to check it out.
Really impressed. Right off of Kirkwood.
Cool. So we're moving away though. We're moving away from the tap, and
we're moving from the tap, and we're heading up north.
All right.
We've got the Crown Point, Indiana. So we've got the Crown Brewery. Is what we have here.
Which we've had the dude. We've had the dude.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Same brewery.
You guys had the dude?
Okay.
We've had
we had. Yeah.
The Dude White Russian Java Porter. I love that beer. I'm a huge Big Lebowski fan. Just the name of it right there, I knew I was going to love it. So we'll sell more of the Dude during fall, winter time,
Absolutely.
Early spring. We saw the sales kind of slow down a little bit right around this time, so we're like, look, maybe we can get something else from them. They sent us this wonderful raspberry wheat called the Flame Rouge. All right, so this is a 5.6% raspberry wheat. It's just a wonderful patio drinking beer. It's just, it's got raspberry puree. I think they're talking like 100 pounds of raspberry puree in every 20 barrel batch is what you're looking at.
It's super easy drinker. It's got a nice, what did you say, is that a pink hue?
It's got a little light pink hue to it, yep. So that shows you that it's a very well balanced beer. It's not going to be really overly bored with the raspberry.
This is a beer that I've got as my side cart.
That's your side beer right now.
My side beer is the the Rouge.
The Flame Rouge.
Flame Rouge. Oh no.
My phone.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Have you had the Soft Parade by Shorts?
Soft Parade by Shorts, yeah.
That's what
I see that on the
reminds
market.
me
I
of.
haven't had it yet.
Yeah, that just hit the shelves at the stores that I.
That's what it kind of
merchandise.
reminds me. It's another good beer, but this is a great summer beer. It is kind of funny how seasonal you have to be in the beer game these days. It's almost like quarterly, and now we're into these summer beers, and it's like you almost have to have these light, fruitful beers as an option.
Well, we didn't even think about that, when we brought the Dude in. That's like, this just
Right.
happened within the past month and a half. We're like, look, we should probably get something else to sell from Crown, and Crown is they've been around. Trying to think, Crown Point, Indiana. They're actually in an old Crown brewing facility. There is an old brewery that started in 1862 called Crown Brewing Company. It was actually called French Brewing Company out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. So they actually closed down in 1916. They tried remodeling the brewery, the building for many, many years. So they actually, in 2008, Tim Walsh and Dave Bryan bought it. They've been brewing beer up there. I've had their green tea IPA before. I mean, that's a pretty interesting IPA. But the Dude White Russian Java Porter, I love drinking that beer. What they do is they take their Crown Brown Porter, which is actually a medal winner at World Beer Cup, and they mix it with their White Russian Java cold brew. That's what they do.
Cool.
No.
But
That's
that's
good
one
stuff.
thing about these beers I've noticed is, man, that aftertaste is so. It's just so smooth. Like all these beers are so smooth. There's no
They're just very
aftertaste
easy
after.
drinking.
Yeah,
No.
like there's nothing.
Even the
left.
9%ers.
Yeah.
I know. Even the 9%
God
is
damn.
very, very easy drinking.
So I think we're on the last beer. Is it the last
We
one?
are, yeah. We only did 4 tonight. Another brewery that we do the Pioneer Series with is called Schnitz Brewery and Pub, and they are located in Jasper, Indiana. This is a
Jasper.
very big German community. I mean, it's kind of close to like the Vincennes area, like right off of like 64. 64 kind of goes east to west down there, very close to Kentucky. If you guys are ever looking for Jasper in that area, but. It actually was a restaurant for years. It was called Schnitzelbank Restaurant, and it started in 1961. And they didn't really start brewing beer until recently in 2015. So they're a little bit more on the German style. They got some cream ale, some Hefeweizens, and we got this wonderful blonde ale today. It's more of a traditional German Weiss beer. 50% wheat, 50% barley, and it's got German hops added to it.
Ooh. I like that.
It's got, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Nefarious Nectar, a little bit on that coriander side, but it does have a lot of different, adjuncts and flavors to it, too.
Now, did I see this win gold at the Indiana Beer Cup?
This actually did win gold. They've won multiple. Yeah, it did win gold.
That's pretty legit. Like, I don't care what anything you're in.
2017 gold medal winner at the Indiana Brewers Cup was this one right here.
That's respect. Anytime I go to a brewery and you start seeing the medals and the awards,
all right. You got the cred.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world, because it's so much more serious. Like, I've had beers before that I saw as award winners, and then it was like they won it in the mid-'90s, and the competition probably wasn't as heavy as it is now.
Different brewers, you got different brewers. There's so many things that could go in and to play with, which would make that beer just not taste like that again.
And then when you see like a recent winner, I would love to see those numbers at some of these events, what the entrants were and the participants and the amount of people in like the 90s versus now. Because I got to think the numbers are just...
Well, people are working with so many different types of hops and malts, and it's just there's different types of kettles and just different brewing facilities that people are doing. Just different styles of brewing. There's the whole gravity system that people use, where you've got your mash on top, then your fermenter, then your bright take on the bottom, and
this big time brewing, like especially doing different styles, like. It's a new thing, It's not something like we've been drinking beer for hundreds and probably thousands of years, but not the way we're doing it now. Like now you're able to like really get scientific with it, and like every different place like will have their different thing. Like some guys are malt guys, they like making malty beers, hoppy beers. Some people are focused on the yeast. There's just you could focus on a million different things.
18th Street has like their lactose thing, right? And then some people are into that.
And so nowadays with the market being bigger and with it being more accessible to get the kind of equipment to be able to be that precise with the brewing, this ain't like the Catholic Church making the beer back in the 1400s where you're just kind of just throwing everything in a giant ass kettle and. Because you can't drink the water.
Yeah, those beers are being fermented in like caves because that was a controlled temperature. The monks, Belgian monks were fermenting these just wonderful beers at that time, and a lot of these breweries still have those same recipes that they're doing. Think about the world's oldest brewery right now, Weinstephaner. Out of Germany, they've been around since 1099 AD. Or I'm at 1066, I think is what it is. And, they're still brewing the same recipe. They're still using a lot of the same equipment that was used back then,
That's so funny.
There are a couple.
And honestly, they hands down one of the best Hefeweizens in the world still to this day. They brew a wonderful traditional Oktoberfest. The Hefeweizen is great. Their lagers, their Pilsner. They have a wonderful Pilsner. That's on my bucket list to be out there for for Oktoberfest in Germany, and I just want to sit down with a huge 36-ounce stein of Weinstephan.
I lived in Belgium for 2 summers. I lived there for 2 different years, and it was crazy to go to some of these breweries and be like, these breweries are older than our country.
Yes,
and they have the lineage to go back and show their family tree and be like, this is the lineage of my family to go back, and it's just mind blowing. And like you said, some of these people are like. This is literally like the original recipe. A little play with it, but this beer's been around for 600 years, and it's like that's longer than your country.
Well, think about what Schnitzel's been doing. Schnitzel's been around since 1961. So I mean,
and that is old.
That's old.
That's old.
Oh, in America,
yeah.
Damn.
I mean, what is it? Yuengling is celebrating 200 years this year. I mean,
that's a bigger deal because
well, the oldest brewery, right?
America is pretty young. And that probably put the Yuengling pretty. It's probably one of the older. When was Sam Adams?
Are
they much later?
They got an 18 in there. I think
I think they're in the 80s, somewhere in the 80s, 70s,
1980s.
1980s.
Yeah,
oh my
that's
goodness,
good.
I'm totally wrong then.
Yeah, because that was that commercial that he came around and they did his thing, and it shows him in the black and white 70s
I thought they were older.
I tell you what, your average craft beer brewery, I mean, if you consider Sam Adams still a craft beer brewery, as far as like the definition of a craft beer brewery, they're not
Anheuser-Busch.
They're not really in that category anymore. I'd say the average date is 1985 for craft beer breweries. I mean, we have Anderson Valley Brewing Company out of Boonville, California. They were established in 1987.
Well, that's why I wonder, because I haven't been over there, but I know in America all the crazy beers we got going on. I wonder how they view a lot of those, because I don't know if they're still
were a
doing
bunch of kids playing with the crayons.
Dude, one of the biggest countries for Founders All Day IPA.
Where?
United Kingdom, man. Most of the beer that was being made.
It's a great beer.
That's just
it's a great beer.
I tell you what, that's the reason why they had to build a $21 million facility, Founders, an extra brewery, just to bump up their yield on all day IPA, because a shit ton of it was going over to England and the UK, dude.
Consistently say that is my go-to. Mm-hmm. If there's nothing else that's wild and there's an all day, I'm going to get an all day every time.
It's funny. We talked about this the other day. I would love to see the numbers at how much Coors Light, Miller Lite, Bud Light has lost in the last 5 years, 10 years even.
Oh, dude.
How much, I'm somebody, I used to be so pro Coors Light. That's all I really drank. And now, I can't remember the last time out at a bar, out in public, that, I had a Coors Light.
They're consistently down in numbers every year. For the past 10 years, they've been down millions of barrels. And that's the thing, is the average craft beer share in the United States is 27%. All right, for craft beer. Indiana's is 9%. We're way below what it should be. And, the big reason is because you have the beer barons, otherwise known as the co-captains, of the liquor stores. I mean, you probably understand what I'm talking about, Nick. I mean, you have Budweiser, Miller Coors. You have these guys who are resetting all these doors for all these big chains, liquor store chains, and they are placing their beer where they want to and kind of moving craft beer out of the way. And I think that's something that needs to change in Indiana. I mean, if you go to a liquor store, there's the red door, the blue door. You've got a Budweiser door with 15 different formats of Budweiser, and the Bud Light the same, and then Coors Light the same way.
You got aisles at your big old chain stores, your Walmarts. You've got hundreds of cases of a few types of beers.
Yep.
How do you like your Budweiser? Do you like it in a can? Well, how big do you like the can? Do you like it in bottles? How many cans do you want? How many bottles do you want?
Do you want
a small can? You want a big can? Do you want a white? There's 15 different ways to sell a Budweiser.
Do you think part of it, and I asked you earlier and we talked, because I could be wrong and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I don't know that Indiana, I have a couple. We don't have the flagship beers that maybe a Michigan has, with Founders and Bells.
And we've got them. We've got our Sun Kings and we've got Three Floyds.
Yeah, it'd be Three Floyds.
And you know what, dude? And I respect
ours.
every brewery. And I'm not ashamed, dude. I'll be the first guy to tell you that I'll drink a shit ton of Coors Light, man.
Absolutely.
Camping, it's we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to have, I love talking with reps out on the market, and we're all trying to help each other out. And we recently, unfortunately, we parted ways with Evil Czech, and it was a business decision. I had an account that was one of the top accounts in the state of Indiana. And I looked at him and was like, look, if, unfortunately we're not selling Evil Czech anymore, but if you want the contact to still get this, I can get these guys to, to get you beer, So it's I could have very easily said, oh, don't worry, don't worry about those guys, take all my beer, but I would much rather take the high road and say, hey, we're all trying to do the same thing here in this state and sell beer. We're just trying to get beer out to people.
You do have plenty of good slides. The Heretic's running my life right now.
Oh my gosh,
Heretic,
you're all about the juicier, are you? Yeah.
All those were great. I just told Nick I just got that new Heretic in. And I read the first 3 ingredients, and I didn't read the 4th ingredient. I'm allergic to pineapple.
Big P. The Big P pineapple.
Oh yeah. Which beer? What did you get? Did you guys get the? Which beer did you get? The.
I'm trying to think.
You got the Heritage. You got the Fruitful World.
Yes,
that's the strawberry
it.
guava Berliner
Yes.
Weiss.
I heard the strawberry guava. Yeah.
He just got it today. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I read the
probably
first three
dive into
ingredients,
that
did a
here soon.
cartwheel, and then got it and read the fourth ingredient. It was just like, God, like such a weird thing to be allergic to.
Indiana's
Indiana's the number
Pineapple's
one
so
market for Heretic Brewing Company.
Really?
Right now, outside their own county. They're in Fairfield, California. A couple cool things come out of Fairfield, Heretic Brewing Company and Jelly Belly Beans. And but you're always going to sell more beer in your county out there. But
sure.
Indiana's the number one market.
That's
it's
wild.
Make America Juicy and
That is
Juicier Than
kinda
Thou
crazy,
are just killing it.
Juicier
Every
Than
time-
Thou
Yeah.
is
my favorite beer right now.
I always get it. Is that the mango one?
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
They did
IPA.
a one-off last year with passion fruit, and I really dug that one. I mean, you really got to like passion fruit. My wife really dug that
the
one. But
Mandarin
the mango was
was
a
not as
year-round
good.
item.
But it was still, I liked it a lot. Make America Juicy, I like a lot too. But I mean, they're also cool play on words, and it's funny. But yeah, the Juicier Than Thou is probably my favorite beer right now.
Jamil Zanishev is the brewer out there, and he's written multiple books. I mean, he wrote the recipe for the Brewers Association of the United States for the New England style IPA.
There you go.
Oh.
He just released a new book.
Is he the
just all
godfather?
about
Is
yeast.
he the godfather of New England IPAs?
He's pretty much, man. I mean,
Is it New England or is it Northeast?
It's New England IPA.
New England.
I don't know what they called it, years ago. I mean, honestly, I think the New England style IPA was probably an accident.
Sure.
It was just like, hey, I forgot to filter this IPA, and it
people
came
like
out
it.
cloudy and hazy, and they drank it, and they're like, word up, this is good.
Right. You're saying I don't have to filter it now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. That is what they do is they add biofine in the brewing process, and that's what kind of separates a lot of the yeast from the liquid itself. And no, they're doing some really cool stuff out there, and their porters, their shallow grade porter. That's what he won, his gold medal for. That's what got him going to start a brewery. So we're really proud to have that brand a part of our
It's good
portfolio.
stuff. And we're getting on it. We're loving it. That Heretic. Well, man, we're at the end of it.
Yep.
We're at the end of it. That was fun, and I'm ready for another beer. So I think we're gonna have to wrap it up for these. These folks.
Yeah, man. Well, hopefully we'll have some more Pioneer Series beers coming soon. I mean, we've had a lot of breweries send us some stuff, and only a handful have passed. So I'd really like to see some more breweries say, hey, we got some good stuff. That doesn't necessarily have a distributor, and that's cool, man. Because a lot of these small breweries, you don't need to have a distributor. Our biggest motto, man, or my biggest motto is take care of your backyard, man. And once your backyard's full, start looking into the neighbor's yard, and, it's like if you're making beer right now, just, take care of your county. Take care of your people. Take care of the pub, your tap house, and once you start really going crazy, then start looking into the neighbor's yard. And,
right.
We get so many people that want us to sell their beer, and we get probably at least 15 to 20 emails a week.
Wow.
And all these breweries have been in operation for either 10 years, 5 years. We even had a submission that you guys only been in business for 8 weeks.
Wow.
And,
Just trying to get it out there.
Yeah. So it's just, and we'll always help people along.
Sure.
Even if your beer doesn't pass the Pioneer Series, we'll let people know, be like, hey, this is what's wrong with it. We want you to be successful.
Sure,
we want
right.
you to move in the right direction. We don't want you to be brewing shitty beer. We want you to be successful and make some money and get people good beer.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this program is all about. It's about education. It's about letting people know that, hey, there is good beer out there. I was talking to Casey about this earlier. It's like we have this whole generation of kids, starting to come out and drink, 21, 22, 23 years old, that didn't drink, the domestics and the dirty 30s like we did when we were 21. They didn't have to go through that. I was drinking hams and PBR and Bud Ice.
We had to find it.
Yeah.
They don't have to find
They
it.
had to wait for it.
They have us. They have us guys that just lead them right to it.
Olympia? You ever have Olympia beer?
No.
It just says a horseshoe and it even says good luck on it.
It even says good luck
It says
on
good
it.
luck on it. I just remember that being like,
I want it.
right on.
Right.
Right on.
Right.
I want to try it. It's like Cooks. Cooks, I don't know if you guys ever see the Cooks packaging. The cost on that is like 35 cents a can. You know, you get a 30 pack for $10.99.
Jeez,
Well,
you know what you're getting yourself
$9.99
into.
a case. That's why we bought it.
Yeah,
I just
man.
I'll never forget looking at the can. And there's a horseshoe and just says, "Good luck."
We
had
both
no idea
know.
how you're going to feel
You
in the
know what
morning,
that
so
is.
good
Yeah,
luck.
you
We
know what
both
that
know
is.
what you're about to get into.
Yeah.
You know?
God.
But no, we just want to educate people and be like, hey, these are the flavors that you need to look for. If you taste that diacetyl flavor, which is, in a beer, which is that buttery flavor, something happened during, the brewing process that, something got infected during it, whether it was a cleaning issue. 99.9% of brewing is cleaning.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
don't want to have any bacteria in it. With nitrogen, you got to have nitrogen in your beer. That's what pushes the beer through. That's something that is checked for. Most beer is a 25%, is nitrogen, 75% CO2 mix. CO2 is huge. You got to have the bubbles in them. We're checking for those. And oxidation. There's always, something can always happen to the beer, whether, during packaging or fermentation or brewing, stirring the mash too hard,
Sure,
stirring it up, way too much, splashing it around, that can cause oxidation. So those are the things that we check for, and we're very proud of this thing and of what we do with the Pioneer Series, and we're the only distributor that does something like that. So
That's awesome.
I appreciate you guys bringing me in on this.
Yeah.
And
No problem.
Every time. All the time. We like all the beers, even the ones that don't pass.
yeah.
Because they're still fucking really, really
Dude,
awesome.
we need to put Natter Days in the Pioneer Series.
Now it's a phenomenon.
Yes.
The Natter Days is I don't think
Their
they
shirts
they
are
couldn't have
sold
known.
out. Yeah.
They couldn't have known that it was going to blow up. This was not seasonal. They're looking at those sales saying, "All year, baby."
Natter Days for days, man.
No, we're not stopping.
Yeah, dude, that's
They're taking over
there's
the
I tell you
world.
what, the only time I ever had Natter Days, and it was the first time I had it, it was 8:30 in the morning at Centerpoint Brewing Company. I shotgunned one with
And you're
all
like,
the
all right.
guys.
And it didn't
I was
touch you.
like, I could drink this all day.
And I will let you know that you can.
Yep,
I have
4th of
done it.
July, my wizard staff, check it out.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it hard.
Oh man,
So,
right on. Good deal.
well, this was a whole lot of fun. Shaun, thanks again.
No, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to come back and do some more. We've got a new brewery coming out in July called Single Cut Beersmiths, and they're out of Queens, New York. We're super excited. We're going to be really putting the buzz out for the Summer Brew Fest in Military Park coming up July 27th. If you guys want to come down, we'll have a Single Cut booth out there. We're going to have like this cool DJ table set up, and just they're. Like I said, they're really into the whole music scene, and
Cool.
all their beers are as some kind
I'm sure
of
when we get it,
rock.
we can throw some bands together and make it a night.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. I would love to, man. We're just doing draft only release, so if you guys want to do maybe a few drafts or
We can
4
take care of it.
drafts,
Oh, we'll get there. We're gonna do it.
dude, we can do a launch party here, and
We already got some shows lined up for August, so
there we go.
We'll just throw that
That's
on
the
it
time
and make
I'm
it
looking
a
for
big old
in that
little party.
area, man.
We're gonna do it.
just order the ones with the guitar handle taps.
Yep.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we're gonna drink a lot tonight. That's what we're gonna do.
I'm down with
so,
that.
Casey, thanks again.
Thank you.
We're down here at the North End Pub. We're gonna drink some more beer, and I guess we'll see y'all next time on another episode of Brews with Dudes.
Word up.